Sonny Styles.
Yeah,
Holy,
jeez.
the day he had. Now,
Yeah,
we're going to go through a few names.
yeah, we are.
Sonny Styles to start that just had ridiculous days. And how are these performances in the combine going to affect their stock? In terms of Sonny Styles, who ran a 4.4640, the fastest 40
Jeez.
by any of the linebackers in this, tied with his teammate, David
Yeah.
Bailey, Arvell Reese. Then his vertical, that was the big thing that really got people like, oh, yeah, Sonny Styles, that's one of the best athletes we've ever seen. Uh, Vertical of 43 inches, 43 and a half,
That's
which is the most ever
just
by a linebacker.
that's that's just incomprehensible. I can't imagine that.
Yeah,
You
that
forgot
is
to mention,
insane.
by the way, that he's 6'5", 245 pounds. This is 4.4640, 11 foot 2 inch broad jump, which is also oh my gosh, this guy put on. In my lifetime, this might be the best combine performance I've ever seen. All things
It
considered, position, size, speed, athleticism
Strength.
might be the best combine I've ever seen on my television. Um,
Yeah.
and we're talking about a guy. I would say he was considered the best linebacker in this class. I would
Yeah.
say he was considered a first half of the first round talent before the combine. Does he escape? I just mentioned it. Does he escape Cleveland at pick six? Does he get out of Cleveland? I don't think so.
I don't think he gets out of the top five after
Wow.
that type of performance. I mean,
And it's
there's a
rare to
chance
see
he goes at
linebackers go
two.
that high. Yeah. Oh my
And we're
gosh.
going to
Yeah.
talk more about the Jets later in the show.
Yeah, we are.
But there's a chance he goes number two overall. And I think it's warranted, right? I would say, I don't know where you stand, but I would say this is the best linebacker prospect I've evaluated. Uh, it Ironically, for me, I felt like Jahad Campbell was number one. So another weak side linebacker. In case it isn't clear, I really like those coverage linebackers in the modern NFL. I've been covering prospects since 2020. I've been evaluating talent since then. And I would say Sonny Styles is the best off-ball linebacker that I've evaluated.
Yeah, well, I think the key for me for linebackers now in the modern age is you got to be able to cover guys. You got tight ends have never been better. We're gonna put them out wide. We're gonna make them cover slot receivers. And if you're running 4.46 at 6'5", 240, I think that checks out. That checks
Yeah.
out a little bit. He ran faster than his teammate, who we'll talk about in a second, who is projected to be a first round wide receiver. He ran faster
Yeah.
than him. So I mean, this is historic stuff. This reminds me not as like prospect to prospect because they're vastly different players, but this type of just raw athleticism is what I remember like from Isaiah Simmons back in the day. I don't know if you remember Madden.
No,
Of course you remember him. He's still
I
in the league, but
remember Isaiah Simmons.
So of
Jesus.
course you remember him. But I don't know. Like, do you remember like the hype and like the
No,
buzz
of course.
that his
He's
athleticism
a
created?
multi-position guy. Whatever. Like
He
the
was
difference
the
is
positionless guy. I'm
you
saying
see
just from
Sonny Styles
athleticism.
play. Yeah.
Yeah,
The difference is you see Sonny Styles play, and it all translates directly to the field. You are
right.
instantly saying this is a guy that could play in the NFL and be very good.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, even before this combine performance.
Oh yeah.
But this was just like him flexing his muscles. By the way, former safety, that tells you a little bit more about his ability to cover. Speaking of safeties in
Yep.
the Styles family, his brother
Jeez.
broke the record in 40 time for a safety. Lorenzo Styles, who is also Ohio State. The Ohio State defense, there's a lot of guys, a lot of guys coming out. I'm excited to, see one of these guys are going to end up teaming up with a former teammate, right? And
Well,
I'm
and
not saying like from a different year. I'm saying like Sonny Styles might end up being with Lorenzo Styles. Maybe we
uh,
see Arvell Reese get drafted at 2 by the Jets, and then they're able to get, I don't know, Cornell Tate
we've
at
talked
the
about
because they have
four
2.
Buckeyes. We've talked about four Buckeyes. We probably haven't even mentioned the best one, which is Caleb Downs. That is like, how did this team not go 20-0 and beat every team by 40? Ryan Day,
Yeah.
you're on the hot seat, my friend, even though you just won the Natty. I'm just kidding. But no, I agree. Like, I don't know if you saw that picture of it's like Sonny Styles is on one side, his brother's on the other side, and their dad's in the middle. And this is like with them at Ohio State. And he makes them look like fourth graders. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, how do you produce two children that are this athletic? And then I saw the picture of their dad, and I was like, oh, okay. The dad looks like he's like 6'8", 290.
Oh,
Like
I need to see that.
he looks
I
like a
I
tank.
haven't seen that.
I'll have to send it to you. He looks like an absolute tank, and I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. But when I saw that his brother ran, the fastest 40-yard dash of a safety, my thought was instantly the Breaking Bad meme where it's like they can't keep getting away with this. Like, how do they keep having just these superhuman athletes in this family? Um, but Lorenzo Styles Jr., it's so funny. How often have we seen a guy say, "I just set the record for the 40-yard dash in my position," and get outshined by his brother? Like, that just is so mind-boggling to me. Um, if you had to kind of gauge where you think Lorenzo Styles goes, do you think that makes him, an early day 2 pick, or do you still think
Oh,
maybe day 3 type of guy?
so I'm gonna be entirely honest. Styles, and it's partially just because of how talented that defense is.
Yeah.
I was looking at a lot of guys on Ohio State. Uh, Lorenzo Styles, I acknowledge his speed. His speed definitely stuck out. He was not the guy. He wasn't the safety that you're looking at. I mean, there's a better safety right there in Caleb Downs. I mean, they're just so talented on the defensive side, and that includes Arvell Reese, right? Arvell Reese, he's ridiculous. I think if you ask me who's the best player in this class, I know that I was just talking up Sonny Styles and all that stuff. I think it's Arvell. I really do. I really do. And I'm including position value when I say that. I am. I think Arvell Reese is the best player in this class because I expect him to be an edge rusher. He could be a damn good linebacker too. I think he would be a better linebacker. I think he can be a better linebacker than Sonny Styles. I'll say that, right? Arvell Reese, though, what he adds as an edge rusher, it's damn near flawless film. It really is. He's a little light, but he's the strongest player pound for pound I've ever seen. He's incredible. He is remarkable. And he further proved that with his combine. But now it's so weird, right? How this guy just ran a 4.46 and his 10-yard split, which I think is the most important thing for an edge rusher, was 1.58, which is tied for first. Yet now it feels like people are more negative on Arvell Reese than they were before the combine. Feels like now because they saw how well he tested, he's a project. But when you watch his film, no, he isn't. Yeah, he didn't play edge rusher that much. He bull rushes everyone. It is Jared Verse all over again. He doesn't need another move. And when he does need to work another move, he's done a good job. I think people are kind of crazy. I do. I know the numbers aren't outstanding for Arvell Reese, but look at the film. He is definitely the better edge out of these two. David Bailey also had a great
Yeah.
mind, but he is
Arvell
one.
Reese is one of those guys. He just pops off the screen every time you watch the Ohio State defense.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Ohio State defense with probably 3 first rounders. He just pops off your screen every single time you watch him. You mentioned Jared Verse with the bull rush, which I agree. I think he's more explosive than Jared Verse, which is scary
Exactly.
because Jared Verse is a really, really good player who fell in the draft. He was projected kind of the mid to late first. He fell to the Rams in the 20s and has been awesome. Arvell Reese is a guy who we're talking about going, like you said, number 2 to the Jets as early. So I don't understand how anybody could say, oh, this guy's a project, this guy's this, that, whatever. It's kind of, and we talked about this before, it's kind of the Micah Parsons effect where, he played linebacker at Penn State. He played edge rusher. He didn't get 3 years of fully committing to edge rusher and the technique and the reps and this, that, whatever. But then he got to the NFL, he was like instantaneously a guy who's going to get 13, 14 sacks. It's kind of like, and I love my analogies. I'm going to give you another one right here. It's like when you're 12 and you're playing Little League Baseball, you're the team's best shortstop, so you play shortstop. You're their best catcher. You're their best pitcher. So they just move you all over. You never really stick to one position because you're the best at every position they put you at. That was kind of the Arvell Reese thing at Ohio State, where it's like everywhere they put him, he was phenomenal. He didn't get to just zero in on being an edge rusher. But I agree with you. I do think in the NFL that he will stick to just being an edge rusher. Another guy who you want to talk about explosive. Let's talk about Mike Washington Jr. I mean, one of the fastest 40-yard dashes at the combine. This guy was scooting. And, the conversation, and we'll get into this more and we'll detail this more later. The conversation I thought going into the combine was, man, it's really a one-headed monster at running back in this draft class. It's Jeremiah Love and a bunch of guys like, who cares? I think Mike Washington put himself out there as a guy, hey, this is not just a one running back draft class. I'm here too. I'm a beast, and I'm worth taking higher than you originally thought.
Mike Washington, 6'1", 223 pounds, ran a 4.33. I mean, it's the running back position. Athleticism is far and away the most important thing, right? Far and away. There is not, and I'm not discrediting the running backs. Of course, there's skill involved, but
Well, you
more.
hate running backs, but go ahead.
It- there's of course skill involved, right? The vision is important, and you want to see the better vision on film and all that stuff. It's definitely important, but I think there is no position where athleticism matters more than the running back position. I really do stand that way. It is such. I think there's a direct correlation between who's a good running back and how good their 40 time is and how well they test as an athlete. I think there's a direct correlation there, unless the running back gets hurt. So Mike Washington having the best 40 time out of all running backs, while again being 6'1", 223 pounds. Yeah, man. Let's go. I'm hype about that. That's outstanding.
Well, and I think with running backs too, like we've seen, I think with other positions like receivers is a great example. You look at the fastest 40-yard dash times for receivers ever, and it's a lot of guys who just didn't amount to much in the NFL. But I agree with you where running back is such an athletically demanding position. Who is one of the fastest running backs ever at the 40-yard dash? Chris Johnson. He went for over 2,000 yards in a season. Like running backs' 40-yard dash times, I would argue, matter more than any other position. I would say them and
Well,
maybe corners are the two most
that
important.
I just think generally how well they test athletically,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
You have to be a great
But
athlete at the
short
running
area
back.
quickness, which is what the 40-yard dash, people confuse quickness for speed. The 40-yard dash tests your quickness. It's get up off the line and just run for 40 yards, obviously, given the name. But quickness for running backs is, I think, more essential than any other position. So the 40 time, we could sit here and say the 40 time doesn't matter and this, that, whatever. And to a certain degree, yes, the 40 is overrated. We all know this. But running backs to me is the position where it is the most indicative of what they are going to become in the NFL because again, it measures their quickness, how they get off the ball, how they're able to accelerate through a hole, get extra yards. So to see that he ran as fast as he did, obviously was really telling. Especially like you said, being as big as he is. I mean, we see a lot of the short, small guys. We see like Devon A-Chain like running stupid, ridiculous 40s, and that's great. To see a guy his size running a 40-yard dash in the 4.3s, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. And then let's switch positions right now to
Mm-hmm.
the tight ends. Kenyon Sadiq and Eli Stowers, both of them, very, very strong combines. I will say, Eli Stowers, I wanted to see the 3-cone from him
Yeah.
because a big question from his film is his ability to change direction. And we didn't get to see him try and change direction. But man, can he run in a straight line. He ran a 4.5 flat. Crazy good athlete, Eli Stowers. What shocked me, though, the biggest surprise of the combine, I would say, is Kenyon Sadiq. Dude, fastest time by a tight end ever? I
Yeah.
did not
Yeah.
expect that. From a guy,
Yeah.
he's a blocking tight end.
I would.
That's what's crazy about this. He is a blocking guy.
I think he has been one of my draft crushes, and now it's he was a first round pick probably before this. Well, maybe he was a first round pick. He's definitely one now. He was one of my draft crushes, but to see not only the way he tested, but how many reports did you see? And this is combine related. This happened at the combine that he had the best interview. There were coaches that said that he was the best interview that they've ever had in their life. I think having a smart tight end, like we said, because tight end represents that gap between being a blocker, which you said he's a great one, and being a receiver. You kind of need to be multifaceted. The fact that he was testing very well athletically and testing very well on the whiteboard, is this guy a top? If okay, I'm just gonna say this and I'm gonna put it out there so it doesn't happen. Sean McVay's on the clock with his second first round pick, and Sadiq's still on the board. He's a ram. Like he's a ram. And
Reunite him with Terrence Ferguson, yeah.
yeah, my God, have mercy on my soul. But I just don't see how this guy escapes the top 20
Well,
picks.
and
I
he's
really
the
don't.
type of guy I think needed a strong combine because at Oregon, he didn't have an expanded role. He didn't. It was a very limited role with Oregon. He didn't really put up much numbers. but the film spoke for itself in terms of his ability to block, which was what he was mainly there to do. And then when he did get the ball, he was outstanding and he was a good route runner too, really well-rounded player. And now we see just how much meat is left on the bone here. Like Sadiq, man, he can be crazy good. And I don't think it's irrational to take him with the type of capital that the Colts used on a Tyler Warren. I really don't. I think he, if you love him, if you love him, he can be like I can understand him being a higher graded tight end.
I think the other thing that's in his
Warren.
favor, and I'm glad you brought up the Colts taking Tyler Warren when they did. There were two tight ends taken in the first round last year. Both of them look like they're going to be really, really good. Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren both got in offenses that fit their skill set. That both play callers, it took a little bit longer for Colston Loveland, but once the Bears found out how to use him, he was Caleb's go-to guy at the end of the year. Obviously, we know about the numbers that Tyler Warren was putting up. I think those two give more confidence to teams taking tight ends in the draft, saying this guy can be a vocal point of our offense, especially if we have a young quarterback like the Bears did. This guy can be his security blanket. This guy could be his go-to. We saw it with Brock Bowers a couple years ago, but Brock Bowers is a unicorn tight end prospect. I'm not going to compare anybody to Brock Bowers. He's the best tight end prospect I've ever seen, granted. But I do think that the success of Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren will actually help Sadiq and his draft stock this year for some teams to have confidence in that position.
Yeah, now you found one specific player very interesting in terms of his performance, right? And he overall has a very interesting storyline. We're going to get that into that as we start up our most interesting combine storyline segment right here.